no, nobody gives a shit what our company is about. Why are we qualified to talk about this?
Wow. Do you know what? Pause here, because I don't agree with that. Literally, we should be... So we even have dogs in today's podcast. We're going to piss off a lot of consultants in this podcast.
Well, we are.
I'm one of them, so I'm not... Dogs are back. Stop barking at the gardeners. They don't like it. They're scared of you. You're very ferocious beasts.
So, hello everyone. This is our second podcast, and instead of lovely Coral, today we have James.
Well, we'll probably have Pickle at some point. He'll show up. Pickle, do you want to come be on the podcast? No. Well, welcome to Couch Corner. So, which soon we're not going to even have a Couch Corner, but we'll get to that shortly. We'll find somewhere else to do it from. But essentially, yeah, welcome. I'm Craig Morfitt. This is Lisa Morfitt of Morfitt Designs. And today we are going to talk about starting points and being too scared to start things or move on from things.
It's basic. We kind of touched on that in our previous podcast of how some people, let's call it, procrastinate. And I mean, we've all been there when you have this brilliant idea and you do nothing about it, either because you don't have time or because you don't have resources or because you just keep postponing it until the better day.
And of course, we as a company deal with this on a daily basis. Obviously, we get to deal with a lot of people that have already made the decision to take that leap or improve or grow or start or whatever. I also have a lot of conversations with people that probably aren't ready yet. You know, they might have even decided to reach out to a developer or a branding guy or a consultant, you know, and obviously they come across me. And even then, you know, there's a lot of them that I've had conversations about many really cool businesses, and they've just never happened because they still weren't quite ready. And also, I myself have grown and started several different companies. So,
well, run us through quickly of your big one that you actually managed to move from a starting point to.
So I met the idea curator behind InstaWrap, which is self-adhesive gift wrap. It was Gary Hoffman in Shenley in England. And he literally essentially founded a very cool idea, which was self-adhesive wrapping paper that requires absolutely no sticky tape. He had this idea for, I think it was 12 years, had a working prototype, very rudimentary, basic concept, but had never actually gone to do anything with it. And we happened to just move into the neighborhood. You met his wife through a bake sale. And then obviously I started talking with Gary and, you know, what do we do in bits and pieces? And we went out for dinner and he just decided to tell me the idea, which he had told very few people about, and really not ask, but, you know, have conversations about, you know, can I help him get this to market? Now, I'm a doer. So if I have an idea, if there's a thought or a concept or something, to my own demise, I might run maybe too far ahead with things before they're really thought out.
Well, I have to be very careful because I married a man of any woman's dreams, and he literally...
stop it.
Never mind dreams, but if I say something, just something stupid, he's going to go and do it. So, and then I'm like, oh, well, I didn't really want it. So, we've done a lot of things. We've moved. We've done so many different things in our life. So we believe we have the expertise to kind of share how we actually do it rather than just think about doing it.
So there's a lot of people out there that'll bluster you with qualifications. The qualifications are great, and I'm a big fan of education in general. However, you know, actually doing things is considerably more valuable than anything else. So,
well, let's just do it.
So I was going to say, what stops people?
So that kind of brings us to our first point: is when if you have an idea, it's, you know, anybody who went to a university or anything, business school, they'll teach you that you need to do this huge business plan, which can be overwhelming and not necessary because sometimes your idea may be shit.
In fact, I think it's majoritively not necessary.
Yeah, in most cases. So I think that once you have that idea, go and do something little.
Anything.
It can be something little. You can find, a software that you need and start using it. You can draw a picture of your logo, do something on that same day that moves you in that direction. Because without that little step, you're just going to keep thinking about it, and that's it.
Caveat to my next sentence: if what you think is patentable or protected, don't do what I'm about to say. But most of the time it isn't. So don't worry about it too much. It's even easier than that. Just talk to some people about it. You know, bounce your idea off people. It's really easy just to tell people what the idea is. You know, people you trust, people you like, the odd stranger, you know, but just have the conversation and really gauge people's real opinion. Don't seek a consultant, because 99% of them out there are just going to agree with you to get your business. Don't talk to friends and family, because they love you and they don't want to hurt your feelings. So they'll tell you any crappy idea is brilliant. How many people on X Factor have you seen that can't sing? And then their mum comes out and starts having to go at the judge saying, he can sing. No, he can't. So tell him he can. It's ridiculous. Just try and bounce it off either people in the industry. You know, grab yourself online a really quick, free, downloadable NDA if you think that what you've got is truly unique. Try and have some conversations with people in that industry. They'll be blunt with you. I'm blunt with everybody. You can always talk to me. I don't care either way. Also, don't really care that much about people's feelings. So
No,
I've told a lot of people on a lot of phone calls their idea is crap and they should go do something else. And that really boils down to, I wish a few times people had told me my idea was crappy. But the problem is, like I said, you speak to people and you bounce an idea and then they say, yeah, that's brilliant. You should definitely do that. And then you go out and do it.
That's great. I always tell you if your idea is crap.
Absolutely. Or just find those people you trust. You know, I also have Chris Barnard, who will hopefully actually be on next week's podcast. That would be fun. Yeah. He doesn't know about that yet. So there you go, Chris. You'll be on next week's podcast. Because this will actually boil down into a lot of things that he does as well, like market research and digital marketing as a research tool. So there you go, Chris. Start writing down some notes. That's what we'll do next week, Tom. But realistically, talking to people should be first. Baby steps. You know, if you've got an idea for a business, these businesses don't have to be revolutionary. You know, you've got Burger King and McDonald's out there. They both sell burgers to people. They're both huge, colossal, multi-billion-dollar businesses that do almost exactly the same thing with almost an identical business model. Just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean you can't do it as well. You don't even have to do it differently. You just have to be good at doing it, and that's that. So just doing it is definitely first, I think. But before you just do it, I think you've got to understand that the if I build it, they will come concept isn't real. You know, start doing it, but don't instantly start to think that something will happen from just doing it. Just doing it might take years, but as long as you're constantly moving forwards with it and you're trialing new things and getting there, just keep doing it is a repeat.
It's kind of like with everything else, consistency is key. So you're better off doing something towards that goal little every day than once every half a year, you know, hire a consultant and talk about it for 3 hours. So point number 2, make time for it. Make an actual effort to make time for it. Don't think that I'll just do it in my free time. When is that free time going to be? So if you have a job, make sure that you know that you're going to come home and you're going to dedicate an hour, 2 hours, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, doesn't matter, to that task that you need to do. So physically put it in your diary or whatever it is that you're using. So I think that helps in personal life as well, whether it's fitness or anything, any skill you want to learn, make time for it.
Right? Well, and this is it, right? So it's, you know, it depends whether you're coming up with a revolutionary new idea or whether, just like when I started this business, you know, I wanted to start my web dev, good faith digital marketing company, and don't be worried about it flip vice versa, because utilizing your 9-to-5 job to fund your dream is brilliant. You know, your 9-to-5 job gets exactly what they want out of you. And then the minute you're out of your 9-to-5 job and you're working on your dream and building your company, utilize that to not have to do it the hard way. Everybody thinks it's exclusive. I'm either going to go off and I'm going to run my own business or I'm going to have a job. And I mean, I did it the hard way, but then I do everything the hard way. So we had just moved back to the country. We were doing Insta-App. I decided to do this. And we had a baby. And I still decided to do it. But I kicked it off. I'd made a few sales. Natalie Hewitt was one of those, who we still have to this day, which is amazing. However, it just wasn't progressing enough to be able to pay the mortgage and the bills and those kind of bits and pieces. So I found a job, landscape gardening. I was delivering pizzas for a little while to fund the ability to keep going and finding more clients with my web business and working on InstaWrap at the same time. It's kind of like a trifecta. So with it, whichever way round you work it, it's not I have to work on my business only, and if I have to go find other work or do something else, I've failed. Because I've come across this numerous times where people will be like, do you know what, I'm going to drop the business because it's just not making enough money, so I'm going to go find a job. Okay, well, why are you dropping the business? Keep working on the business, go find yourself a job to fund continuing on. So that's it. Find the time, find the money, and the money doesn't have to be a loan. It doesn't have to be investment. You might just need to work another job and work this side. Nobody ever said this was going to be easy.
No.
And it shouldn't be easy. We'll get into that in more detail in a bit.
Yeah, that's how the point, the next point.
Is that the next point?
No,
it's the next point after this
No,
point?
it's the point after
It's just like the next Gorsator.
The next
Friends
one,
reference for those that enjoyed it.
The next one
might do another one of those. What's the next one?
Next one sounds a bit counter everything you've been taught, but don't dream big. As in do, but set yourself achievable tasks. We see these big corporations, big names are thrown at us, Elon Musk, Jobs, whatever, all these people. So we think that you come up with an idea and that's it. It has to work. It doesn't work like that. So if you still think that it does, watch a lot of things on YouTube because there's plenty of those out there.
And success is going to be an opinionated concept.
Success is not like that. It's like that.
Yes, it is. And it should always be like that.
So set yourself achievable tasks that you can do today. If you have a job and you know that today you're not out till 10 o'clock at night, then you know that just do it another day. Don't beat yourself up about something that you haven't done. So dreaming big is great, but you have to always be a realist.
Well, let's use two famous sayings, shall we? Which is setting yourself up for failure and under promise, over deliver. You're going to hear, if you haven't, you're going to hear these sayings for the rest of your life. If you think out the gate, your company is going to be the next Tesla or Apple or whatever it's going to be, honestly, you've already set yourself up for failure. They didn't do that. That's not what they did. You know, you've created yourself an insurmountable, very thin chance of success. So if that's your concept of success, the hard reality is that you're going to live a very disappointed life unless you happen to just peak that little bit. So utilize the other, which is under promise to yourself. I'm going to, in 6 months, have enough money to pay X bill, or I'm going to have enough money to live off within 12 months of launching this business, and then over deliver. Holy crap, in 12 months from now, I actually can live a nice life, not just enough to pay all my bills. I actually got some disposable income. I managed to buy a new car or whatever it is that people wanted off of my new business, or I managed to employ my first member of staff or whatever it is. In all of the business plan writing that I do, that I say isn't most of the time isn't necessary, but will be in certain cases, in a lot of the business plan writing that I do, I literally tilt the scale, most ridiculous overheads I can think of, and the minimum viable sales. And I've submitted business plans where that company doesn't even make money for years on that basis. But when you're pitching, especially to an investor, which if you are going to be investing in yourself in your own time, you are the investor, so you've got to pitch to yourself. This is the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario for this business is I need to fill in this bit of money by doing something somewhere else, maybe. But the likely scenario is that I'll tip the other way, rather than setting yourself pipe dreams that likely aren't going to be achieved.
So lower your expectations.
You'll be disappointed less often.
That's with everything, not just business.
Especially with my wife. That's staying in. Point 4!
I've lost count because I didn't put.
You didn't put numbers next to them.
So
See, lower your expectations. Never expected there to be numbers on these. I figured we'd get lost. but it's a nice little comedy segment, if nothing else.
Well, that's I think that's the last point. So I think that a lot of us don't start something simply because we're scared of failure.
Ooh,
and I've been there. I don't know if you've been there, but I've definitely been there.
You have to be there.
So the faster you make that mistake, the faster you'll be able to learn from it and fix it. So don't be scared to make these mistakes.
Yeah.
I feel like you are like boiling to say something.
Oh yeah. So this is career fear or entrepreneur fear, whatever it is you want to call it, but it's actually a mixture of a concept that originally I found started by a buddy of mine, Jamie Martin. Used to be the CEO of many different shopping channels and does some really cool stuff. But I've kept with that motion and doing it regardless of the fear is the point. The fear is what should drive you. You're going to be scared. It doesn't make. We're all scared every day. Every day in entrepreneurship, we wake up and we're scared that it's going to all crumble around us, or that thing that I'm trying isn't going to work, or I'm going to invest this money into this business and it's kind of all I got to work with. And if it doesn't work, is that a waste of money, etc., etc. And as your business grows, that fear increases because it's always still there. Just you're going to be gambling with bigger chips. You know, at the beginning of this business, I had actually convinced myself that it would fail. So I was just prepared for failure, and I did it anyway, even with a baby and no job and no money and all this and that.
Ever optimistic.
But I was absolutely 100% convinced that I couldn't make this work. But at the same point, I'd had a conversation with myself that that's ridiculous because if I don't do it at all, I've already lost. You know, by doing it and losing, at least I tried. At least, hi Chase, nice to see you back. Finished barking at the gardener. At least if I've given it a shot and failed, I tried. If I don't try, I've already failed in advance. Then that's just going to increase as you go along. So I'm a big believer as well of pushing stable businesses. If you're going to bed every single night, sound as a pound, everything's running perfectly, this business is absolutely ideal. It's earning enough money to pay for itself and myself a nice salary. How wonderful. And if that is absolutely where you're comfortable and you've thought about this already and you've gone, you know what, I don't want to push this any further, this is it. Great. Still make some minor changes, keep the stability, because if you stay still, especially in this ever-pace changing world, you will get left behind. But if you just want to keep that stable business just running along on a nice little inflation year on year on year, fantastic. However, in my opinion, if your business is doing that and you're sleeping perfectly every night, you know everything's going well, you have more in you, or your business has more in it to achieve more. It's the comfortability matrix. We can find a bit on that, can't we? The further outside of the more uncomfortable you are, the more you're pushing. Now, if you're so far that you can't sleep, you're running out of, you went too far, you come back. There's a comfortability point where you should always have that little bit of fear that, oh my God, I'm going to try this new thing within whatever levels it is that you're doing. But I still think that fear is what should always drive us. It's the fear of the next big thing, the next challenge, the next thing that's going to drive us, that's going to drive the business, possibly even give one of your staff or contractors or whatever that opportunity to earn that bit more money that they didn't think was possible. You know, the change doesn't always have to be for you. It could be that you're providing that service to that customer. You've improved that reach to be able to just give those people your level of service that they wouldn't have got otherwise. Whatever that is, I think we should always push ourselves to constantly be in that little, just outside of that comfortability area. So that little bit of fear, that little bit of uncomfortability should be the flavor that entrepreneurs enjoy.
It's just changing your mindset of how you see fear. And again, failure is okay. We've all had it. Just because not everybody talks about it online because it's not pretty, it doesn't mean that everybody failed at something at some point. So you're not going to be the first or the last. So,
and the fear is relevant, but at the same point, here's my sign-off bit of advice. Right, that's all of our points. Yes, so it's my sign-off bit of advice. What is the worst case scenario? The worst case scenario of starting your business safely and cleverly is not bankruptcy. It's not complete failure. It's not all your friends leave you and your family detest you because you're a monstrous failure who tried something and it didn't work. The worst case scenario is you have to get a job. You probably already got a job. And the reason you're watching this podcast is you don't want to have a job anymore. You want to run your own business. So the worst case scenario is you have to go back to having a job. So go try it anyway. And if it doesn't work, you're just going to be back in the same place you are now. Nothing terrible happened. For me, it is a last resort behind selling my soul to someone that would buy it. So I think give it a shot outside of your everyday, grow it, nurture it, do it within your capabilities. And if you need help and you need advice and you need support, seek out people like us. That is what we do all day. They're not all our mistakes. They're not all our joys. We learn and we live our lives through hundreds of companies that we work with on a daily basis. So we have a much more thorough knowledge network than just your average business owner.
Learn from other people's mistakes.
I do try. But
Always best.
Other than that, I think that wraps up today's. Essentially, career fear, go for it. Just do it. Nike it, whatever. I have to mention Adidas and Reebok.
Careful, we're going to get deleted.
No, that's why I had to mention the other two. Because now I've mentioned 3, I'm all right.
Oh, okay.
So just do it. Don't worry about the fear. Do it anyway. Do it within your capabilities.
Find time for it.
You know, there's a really toxic version of this, which is, you know, millionaires aren't watching Netflix. But yeah, they are. Because they're millionaires. They do whatever the hell they want. But at the same point, you know, if you're sitting there and you don't have enough money, you know, you're not happy with what you're achieving in your life, and you are sitting there watching Netflix every night, maybe take a little bit of that time and go and put it into something that might be able to push your career a little bit further.
I've actually heard a good one, and I can't remember where. It's not my thought, but that earning $1,000 a month is much harder than earning $10,000 a month.
Oh, for sure.
So, because, you know, most of the hard work is actually not paid very well.
Well, I'm actually just helping another digital company start signing up their first retainers. So you're literally getting retainer work on board, which I think is a very clever growth pattern for digital services. And of course, they start small. I'm like, if you nurture and you look after that, retain, that's the hard one to get. The first few are the hard ones, because then what you do is you work and you mature those to give them, build their business to the point where they require more demand, and then they will grow by themselves. Once you're up to those retainers being of a considerable level where you're living a nice life, getting more of them because you're going to be more relaxed about talking to them. You already have your base funding every month. So absolutely fantastic point. So it certainly looks like reeling out this goodbye on this YouTube is like trying to hang up on your mum. We're just going to keep talking anyway.
We're
but
just
this
gonna
time,
say goodbye.
Encore. Oh, stop it. This time we're going to say goodbye. You should subscribe to us or do some, press some fucking button.
Subscribe.
I don't care. Be it
And
somewhere
follow and like and recommend and do all of those things.
or don't. This is your other option. They probably never made it this far anyway. But other than that, have a lovely day. I've been Craig Morford. This is Lisa Morford of Morford Designs, and she'll probably edit in some music to say goodbye on. Ciao.